Oh no. Uh-oh. Has this ever happened to you? A completely ugly painting, completely ruined. Or is it? Stay tuned and we'll show you how to fix it. Okay. Something we're looking at is a damaged canvas. And moving, you can see a lot of issues, holes that were in the canvas. There's some you can't see because I've already patched them. But in moving, there's a nice one there. This painting got damaged. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. So the first thing to determine before you start repairing a painting is it acrylic or oils? And how are you going to know? You know, unless you painted it yourself, you don't know. So we're using, this is acrylic, and I'll show you how we found out. You get some rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, and a little Q-tip. And get it wet, and go to an area of the painting where there's no sign, and work a little in. And what's going to happen, if it's acrylic, you can see it coming off on the Q-tip, just like that red. This is an acrylic painting. You couldn't do this with dry oils. It wouldn't come off. It would just laugh at you and move on. So now we know this is an acrylic painting, and we have some acrylics, different level, professional levels, amateur levels. The reason is because I don't know what they used on this painting, but I'm going to match as much as I can to the original so that you can't tell it was ever repaired. So the next step is to lay the painting flat. And what I did was I took a damp paper towel and just lightly went over the entire surface of the painting to remove any dust, pet, hairs, you know, anything like that that's going to get caught in the paint. We don't want that. So because this is an acrylic painting, a little bit of moisture on the paper towel, clean it up and get rid of all kinds of junk. So you can see the white patches on the back of this canvas are where I've done repairs, on the back only. And what am I using for that is called gesso. This was a $7 bin of gesso I bought years ago, and I use it mainly for texture in paintings. I also mix it with oil paints to lighten them and to make them last longer. But I use this stuff, I've had this for probably 8 years. Whenever I open it, I add a little fresh water on the top and close it back up. And just use a regular, you know, knife, just a plastic scraper to get the gesso and work it into the canvas and let it dry overnight. It dries very quickly. I've also used this in apartments for wall damage and then just painted it with acrylic paint afterward. It's a real quick process, but you can see all the holes that I had to patch to get this thing structurally sound again. So back on the front, when I run my finger over one of the damaged areas, it's got a little bit of the gesso coming through, which is what I want. I want to create that as flat as possible without causing any more damage to the painting. Here's one coming through just a tiny bit. There's another one there and a big one here. If you look at this one right here, you can see that a lot of the canvas is frayed. And what we're going to do is take a pair of very sharp little scissors, and we're going to flatten that canvas out and get rid of all the burrs and stuff like that so the paint lays down smooth. Okay, so what I do is I take my little shears, my little tiny things, and I push up on the wound, if you will, on the back of the canvas. There we go. Push up with my finger and trim it off. So the gesso will cut cleanly and any fragments will come right off. And the goal is, of course, to make it nice and flat to the fingertip. I can feel a little roughness right there. So I'll take my little pliers, my little trimmers, and just run it flatly along the top and just snip off so that I've got a smooth surface without any other damage to the paint around it. Now, to make this painting tight when we're done, is we're going to spray the entire back with a little bit of spray water, and that will tighten it back up. Now, the owner of this, my brother's girlfriend actually, I asked him what he wanted me to do, and he says he doesn't want it to be preserved. He doesn't want to cover a matte or a final gloss finish on it. So I'll respect their wishes, even though that's what I would do. This is a painting I think her mother or grandmother painted. So we'll go ahead and do that next. All right, so the inside of my bowl is black because I was doing some black gesso on a different painting, but it helps you see the colors. Right here I have white gesso, which I use instead of titanium for this application. Here we've got, let me see here what I've got. Got some deep magenta. Alizarin crimson would be great. This is some Kumbacher red that I'm using. I also have some cheaper paints, Artist Loft stuff. You can get in any store as a violet. And I have some white over here too. And yeah, there's the alizarin crimson, whatever you want to call it. So I start mixing together the colors, and then, you know, basically just literally trying to match them to what I'm doing. And you can see we're getting pretty close. Now, one of the tricks is that acrylics always dry darker. So have a cup of water there, add some little bit of your gesso in there, which is going to make it more opaque, but be careful with that. Until I start, you know, pulling out the color, and then start looking at a place. And what I'm going to do is touch and move on. It needs to be a tiny bit more red. So I'm going to add a little bit of my crimson, add a little water, and again, you want thin layers, transparent layers, so you can see through it. You know, we're just going to, you know, do a little bit of touch up on the corners first and see how that looks. I like to leave it on the corners for an hour, let it dry, and come back. So I'm going to put a little bit in this area here, and I'm going to just dab and move. When I see a white spot, I'm going to dab and move. If I find junk on that, which you'll find in old paintings, dust, you know, don't be afraid to stop and clean your canvas again with a little bit of water. I'm just going to keep moving. Got some alizarin crimson there. If something happens, wash out your brush. In fact, I'll show you what I'm using. This is a blender brush that I'll use for feathering. This is one of my favorite, the black diamond brush that I use for larger areas, and this is just a little tiny point brush. So I'm going to clean it out with water, go back to the area, and just scrub. And any color that you have will just disappear. Spread it out. Grab it with your finger, bring it down, you're done. Okay, in this corner you can see we've got a big spot. So I'm going to grab some more of my paint. And this side is a little more bright red. So I'm going to bring this up here and start testing my color. As you can see, it's transparent and you can see through it. So that's a good sign. That's going to be a little more red than it was before. Thin it down with water and just go. Go up to the top, start moving around. This is not a valuable painting, so I'm not a professional restorer. I'm just showing you how to fix something at home. So I'm starting with my washes. Whoever painted this before, they really didn't do up here, but I'm using that to my advantage. I'm going to add a little gesso in there, tiny bit of purple and crimson again, and I'm going to give it some more body. And just let that dry. Okay, so you can see we're starting to get a blend. I don't want to destroy any of the artist's original work. I'm just looking at the damage that was done, the hole that was in the canvas, and there it goes, it disappears. The trick is it should be that you want to make it look like you didn't do anything, like you were never here. Like, no, there's nothing here. If you ever worked on auto body, you can tell that that's going to be a tiny bit too light, too dark. Add a little gesso, white gesso, and scrub it out. Just a constant movement like that, little commas. And you don't want any hard lines. Let the brush go dry brush it, and just start moving it out. Anywhere you see dark, too much paint. And I'm going to leave that to dry and come back and see it, what it looks like. I feel pretty good about these corners up here. The original artist didn't really spend a lot of time on their corners. They left them kind of raw, and that's what I'm going to do. It's got kind of a deep gash in it. We're going to leave that for right now. All right, we'll let that dry and see how it looks. All right, our painting has dried pretty good. And I've moved on to a bigger brush that I've been using. And this whole side and this whole side of here has a lot of damage on the edge. So to get around that, simply use a wash of the color, and you can see it starting to then I'll take down the brush and dry it out, get a little more dry brush going on, and then start working the color out from where its main point is. So that I cover it all up. Getting a little more in the corners because I know our colors match good. Work my way across. That's a bit dark. Thin that down a little bit. The shininess will go away once it's dry. Working in a circular motion, I'm just going to clean up this top edge. And then when the brush is dry, I'm just going to do circulars and draw it down into the old paint so that it creates a nice blend. So that whole corner, this whole corner now looks normal. The eye isn't drawn to it as a damaged area. Same thing over here. Trying to get the camera, I apologize for my camera work. It's hard to paint with one hand and hold the camera with the other. But you get the idea of what I'm doing. Wet the brush. You can see some of the gesture was a little bit lighter there. I'll come through here. And I'm going to continue along the top that I was working on. And bring it to where it was before. Circular it down. Circles, blending it in. Looking pretty good. This area here is pretty light. I'm assuming that's from frame damage. I'm just going to touch up the side, be very careful around the model itself. And when your paint gets too thick, wipe it off. It's better to have too little paint than too much. You can come back in here with the liner brush and become much more accurate. But you'll see the white spots where the paint is chipped off. And then just basically washing over that. Wet the brush, come back. Okay. Looks pretty good. Got a little spot where we worked on before. Clean the brush. Light movements so the eye isn't drawn to it. I had started feeling this one here, but you can see it's still, I'm going to add water and gesso and just start lightening that up. This is where a very light touch is needed. And I'll come back with the yellow later, but for right now, still got a center of that damaged area that we're going to have to let dry first before we actually fill that. This area here I'll need to mix up a purple color and the violets and all that, and the same thing down here. Okay, I've added two new colors, ultramarine blue and phthalo blue, and I got it all over my hand, but because of this area right here, there's a lot of extra colors in there that are much more blue. So I'm going to go through and, again, the same technique using thin paint, and I'm just trying to blend those in. A little extra gesso on there. You know, and if you mess up, you just, there we go. And I'm blending down into the damaged area and covering it up. A little bit of white right there, so I'll use that. Grab a little pure gesso where she's got pure white. Try to get it as pure as I can. And just blend that in. Follows the same pattern that the artist had originally. I'm just basically bringing the gesso right over my damaged area and then blending any hard lines out so that when the eye sees it, it isn't tempted to say, hey, what's wrong there? That's pretty good. I've got another one right there. So again, we're going with the same color structure. Start lighter than you think you need to. Touch, too dark. And you'll know you get it right when all of a sudden your eyes don't notice the problem anymore. There we go. And you want to get the paint down inside that damaged area. And I still got a few small strays on there. I'll let this dry before I trim those off. Now the entire thing, this damaged area, I'm going to need to hit with a little bit of gesso and pull it out. Same thing here, I got a hard line, same process, blend it down. Here, this scrap here, you can tell we're already a little darker, so we're definitely in the purple range. So when you first do this, it's going to be too dark. I'm wiggling that down, and that's fine. Wet the brush, grab some gesso, and now we're ready to blend. We're blending right on the canvas because that's one of the best ways I've found to make. And you ask a makeup artist. They do this stuff all the time. That's why makeup artists amaze me. They say, I can't paint. You can do makeup, you can paint. Dab the brush in water and just start blending it away. You don't want to make it look too good. I know that sounds strange, but obviously there's still a damaged area there, but it's not going to detract from the painting anymore. It's not going to be, oh, there's a hole in the canvas. You know? Not sure. That's a scrape off, so I'm going to grab some of my original color. Got some more reds on this side. Put the dark red over the top. Oops. Too much. Remember our technique? It's acrylic, simply we'll wipe it off. Once I've already got a little bit of paint there, I'm going to grab the gesso and start working it over that hole, that little area. The gesso will mix instantly with the acrylics, and you can, just with light touches, you can get exactly the color you're looking for. Because gesso is opaque, it's going to cover that red underneath there. We're going to call that done. As the painting gets better and better, you're going to start noticing a lot of other little things. Like this one. Oh, that's nothing. Something the paper towel didn't get. That's the last one I've got to fix. That's big. But before I do that, I'm going to fix the edge damage down here. I'm going to use my bigger brush for that, because it's a bigger area. I apologize for my camera work. A little bit of gesso, starting from the sides, work my way in. And all I'm doing is just adding a transparent wash over what's already there to give me an idea of the coloring. Try not to change the artist's original stuff. Here, it's a bit darker, but it gets really easy to get too dark a paint, just like I did there. I kind of think about what the artist wanted to do here, and I realize my wash is going to be too light. I'm going to get a tiny bit more paint, be a little brave, and go in here, dry the brush. Clean out the brush, actually. Add a little gesso. Carry it away from the injury, if you will. There we go. And you can see it start to disappear. For your dry brush, still not happy with this area right here. I'm going to clean that up just a tiny bit. I often will dab at this point to get that color down into the canvas. Come back with gesso, a little bit of water. Okay, feeling better about that. Dry the brush. Grab the blender brush. And just blend that. Okay, doing pretty good. Continue on down. That's as much as I'm going to do there because we're getting close to the signature. And then this has, the bottom of this painting has like a watercolor look, so I'm going to dry the brush and just kind of lightly bring that in, blend it in, leave it that. I'm going to leave it. Now, she didn't actually finish the side of the painting, so I'm not going to either. Even though I did up there, I'm not going to here because it's going to be covered by your frame. And, well, I take it back. I can't take it. I'm going to fix it. You would too, you know you would. Just gonna put some light color on the edge. We'll call that done. All right, so the last one to fix is going to be up here. This was a nasty one. And as you can see, I have it dark, but the center is still light because that's the gesso. It's dry behind there, so I'm gonna grab. And we're dealing with a deep alizarin crimson look. So I'm going to, this is my third layer on here. Let it dry. Seriously, walk away, just let it dry. That's really all you can do. Let it dry and build it up in layers. And here we go, the very end. Once everything's all dry and ready to go, the back of this thing is quite loose. It's pretty old. So you get your bottle set on the nice mist and just spray the back. A light misting. And let it dry. And in a couple hours, it will take that canvas and it will shrink it and it will tighten up and be really good. Thanks for watching. Okay, and we're finished. Majority of our repairs are all done and it's still drying. I may do a little bit of touch up on the hair. But you know, it's really not enough to cause me to want to do that. Now, as I was saying lastly, you take a water bottle like this, which we use to keep our cat off high places. That's the truth. And you just spray the back of the canvas with it once it's fully dry. And what that'll do is just a light mist, like you were, you know, like if you're trying to get a bug off your windshield, just do a little bit of spray and spray a mist over the entire canvas, let it set for a few hours, it will dry and it will tighten up. And then go find a frame and hang it back on your wall. Hope you've enjoyed this. Give us a like and a share and all that fun stuff. And thanks for watching.